Today I am exploring a question which you usually get in the beginning of your interview, where the interviewer asks you, tell me about your project or tell me more about your project details. I personally believe it's an important question because the information which I shared will set up the foundation for rest of our conversation. So we need to start with a mindset of the interviewer, what they probably want to know about my project. In my understanding, they probably want to understand what kind of complexity I have managed, what is the quality of my project management experience. So that's a one possible thing they are looking for. And they also want to see that quality of project management experience, how much that is relevant to the current profile which they are interviewing for. So I need to bring the information in a structured manner so that it can relate to the interviewer's expectation. Yes, I need to talk about my experience only, but I can zoom in into those areas where I see more overlap from the interviewer perception. So I need to do my study so that I can come up with the right description. In general, I believe that it might be a good idea to think about three dimensions when you are talking about your project. The problem your project is solving, like a project objective, project goal, the project business case, yeah, customer segment, the problem, the project itself, the project management aspects, life cycle, the tools you use, the geographical distribution, the size and complexity, the integration, the overall project management thing, and finally the solution which you produced in the project. So solution may be the technology, the deployment views, the number of people getting impacted, the non-performance requirement, whatever the solution details, that could be the third area. So as a project manager, I need to talk little about the problem, more about the project, and something about the solution. Now, but if I have an interviewer who is coming from business analysis, strategic direction, they might be more interested in knowing the problem, the customer segment, the user persona space more. If I have a person who is in a project management space, they might be more interested in the project space, where I also want to talk more. And if I get a someone who is coming from solutioning space, and especially if you are going for technical project manager kind of role, where people also expect you to play a role in solutioning space, they may also be interested in the solutioning part of it. So you also need to see what kind of role you are applying for. Is it strategy come project management, strategy, sales, business analysis, and project management? Then you may give more focus to problem plus project. Pure project, you just focus more on the project space. Project plus technical leadership solutioning thing, then you may need to incorporate the detail coming from the solutioning space as well. So that's a balance, and three component I need to present in my detail about the project. So let's start talking about the problem domain. You can talk about the type of users who are going through a particular challenge and for which they have initiated this project. So the problem statement, the user segment, the user persona, the business goals can be explained to start with. If it's a strategic project, this information may be coming from your business case. You may explain what kind of objective your organization has from this particular project. If it is a contract-driven project, then you probably need to take some information, which is, the client has this particular challenge. They wanted to implement us for a particular compliance. And for that, they contracted with us so that we started with the project. So either a business case or a contract, I need to talk about the problem statements and the source of this project objective coming from there. I need to make sure that I don't share something which is not expected to be shared. So there could be some confidentiality involved in these areas. So I need to not to share that, because even interviewer will not like you sharing confidential information. But at the same time, I should not say everything is confidential. I need to find out what are the things which can safely shared, which creates a sufficient amount of understanding about the context in which we are doing this particular project. So I start with a problem statement. Then I talk about my project. So when I talk about my project, I can further think about various aspects. I need to give a feeling of my project characteristics, a size, the complexity involved. So how do I explain about complexity? You can choose the things which are more relevant in your case, but some of the possible things which can show the size of the projects are, it could be the number of team members you have. The size of your project team shows a decent amount of complexity. The number of stakeholders you are involved with. Yeah. So again, a count of a people, team members and project stakeholders. you can share that. The project duration, it's a 1 month project or a 1 year project, brings us different kind of complexities. The project budget size, if you have a contract driven thing, which is open to be shared, not confidential, you can talk about the cost or the overall budget of that project also, the contract value. That's also can show the complexity of the project. The geographical distribution, yeah. So the geographical distribution of your team, geographical distribution of your stakeholders, or your deployment, overall the things where it all get deployed, that also can show a complexity of the project. The overall compliance environment, the internal compliances or external compliances can also show the overall characteristics of your project complexity. So you can use something out of it, which can shows that, okay, these are the type of complexity we are dealing with. Then you can focus on explaining a little bit about the project management approaches. So say you can focus on, are we using agile way of working? Are we using hybrid way of working? You can focus on high level roles and responsibility of your team or as sub teams, which if you are working with a 20, 30 people team or project, you may identify what all other teams are involved and how do you integrate with them. So giving an approach about the project life cycle and the team reporting or coordinating environment also could be a good idea, because it shows how you are running this particular project. You can also focus on talking about tools which you are using. So tools also demonstrate the quality of your project management experience. So say, if I say, I'm managing my project using Excel files and Google Sheets, yeah, nothing wrong about it, but it may give a perception that you might be dealing with the problem which can be managed through Excel. At the place of this, if I say, oh, we do use something like MS Project to prepare our project schedules and track it if you are a predictive lifecycle, or you show that we are using Jira or Azure DevOps to plan and track our work, that it shows some kind of maturity in our project management processes, and also shows the complexity might be high. That's why the organization is using it. So you need to select and talk about the tools which are getting used related to project management space as well. Yeah, we talk about solutioning tools after some time, but we are focusing on project management aspects first, because we spoke about problem. Now we are looking at areas which can be focused when you are talking about your project. So you can talk about your tools. You can talk about the other parties if they are involved. Yeah. So we spoke about stakeholder and team. There could be some bodies also, say vendors, other providers. If it could be a system integration work, you can talk about that particular things as well. After that, you can also focus on a little bit explanation about the type of challenges or the key areas where you focus on in this particular project. You might be working in the technological challenging space. You might be working in the space where stakeholders are resistive for the project idea. So depending upon your current project challenging environment, you may bring some of the challenges which you feel comfortable talking further. Yeah. So you can also say these are the major thing which we are focusing on. And you may also put some kind of set of metrics as you track, or the key success criteria which has been identified for your project. You need to adjust this conversation in the language as per the life cycle. So say if you are using agile way of working, you talk about burn down and overall those kind of retrospectives and those kind of meetings, overall cumulative flow diagram and those kind of terms. If you are following in a predictive life cycle, you may talk about variances and risk issues, charts and all those things. You may also talk about that. You may also explain the type of communication and the frequency of communication you are using and overall effort you are putting in the project integration. So that is a project aspect. You don't have to talk about all these things, but you need to select the one which are more relevant for a given project and the person who is asking you in the interview. So after looking at a problem area, after looking at a project area, then comes to a solutioning area. So solutioning area is pretty much your technical competency. So some project managers are expected to work very closely with the team members. They are expected to have some technical hands-on skills as well. For those interviews, for those project managers, this area may require a little bit specific focus. I can't give you terms here because it depends upon the solution you are working with. So you may focus on technology, the complexity, the framework you use, the way you deploy, all these aspects of it, so that the person gets an understanding that you have an understanding of what overall solution you are using. You need to use the terms at a level so that you can get into details as well. Don't talk about things just for a namesake. if the person asks a follow-up question, you should be able to explain those particular technology also well. So overall, looking at these three elements, you need to create your project description. You can also plot while you are explaining the overall project organization chart. You can create some kind of summary level communication details, summary level project management plan details in order to make your project, your interviewer feel about your project details. Yeah. So that's from my side. Now it still need to be compressed and you need to make a project description out of this. Probably you may want to share in the chat areas and or in the comment area so that we can discuss and review about this particular project thing. Now, if I have to give an example, yeah, if I just give a very vague example, so I can say, yeah, coming from my previous project, so I worked in the media industry, so I can say, the media industries, the TV channels usually have difficulty in managing the ads inventory, the time, because time is money, and they have very expensive solutions which are coming from other providers, and they are difficult to maintain on a year-on-year basis. So they decided to create a product which is customized for their need, and I, as a project manager, worked into that particular space where we created a solution to manage the overall ads booking and scheduling for their say TV channel. So that's a problem statement. Then I can talk about my project. So I can say it's a multi-year project. We worked on various modules. We had various teams working into different areas. There were teams who were working in a scheduling space. There were teams who were working in commercial and billing space. And I was responsible for ensuring a nice integration in all those aspects. The team's size for this particular project was around 25 people. We were spread across two locations. One location was managed in outside India. So I can use a specific example. For example, I can say that there were a team in Indonesia which was working there, and there was a team in India which was also working and closely working with the implementation. Our team was not only involved in just doing development, but they were also involved in doing implementation. We had two client sites where we have to implement this particular solution in parallel. So that kind of complexity was also maintained. Our stakeholders were frequently available and they were also looking for incremental delivery. So we created a hybrid approach where we were taking some kind of requirements upfront, because requirements was 60-70% predictable because they were using the system to automate their current operational flow itself. But at the same time, they wanted to have incremental delivery. So we managed incremental delivery by forecasting these schedules and releasing it. Delivery was just not an easy thing because delivery also came up with support. Yeah, so we need to ensure their ads get booked well. If something goes wrong, they lose revenue. So we need to be very critically checking the quality of the bookings. If we don't utilize the time, they lose money. If they don't air the particular ad, they lose money. So there are a lot of aspects which can directly proportionate to losing money. So we need to make sure a good quality standard, stability for our product. So it should run well and it should produce at an efficiency. And I was involved in ensuring those areas. So I can give a little detail about project. We follow a communication management plan. We had a weekly reviews meetings, and I also had a monthly stakeholder review where I need to present the progress of this project. The overall size of this project was around 1.5 years, but we had a multiple incremental deliveries in between. And this particular solution is still getting maintained by our other team. So it is the future versions also continuously got built, but I was involved in first 2 TV channels launch. So I can explain about the project. Now about the solution. Yeah, now I can go there. I can say the solution was using the web-based approach and having Oracle as a database. We were using a lot of interactions using PL/SQL code as well. So I can explain that. And I can also talk about that there were web interfaces which were published toward the agency, which were read-only interfaces. And there were interfaces which were used in an environment where 20 to 30 people were booking and managing the spots. So it was a multiple access product, which was having web interface, local hosting, not an internet base. They were hosting it in the intranet and having a strong database and say the PL/SQL skills as well. And we need to maintain the confidentiality and extraction of the data very carefully because this data was very crucial for the channel. They don't want their competitor to know about what we are doing in our commercial bookings. So again, it's just an example. Yeah, you may pick up something which makes relevant here and there. but it should be small enough. Yeah, it should be bringing the aspects from these three areas, should be relevant to the person who is listening to you, and should demonstrate the complexity involved in that particular project, which can get the conversation going for your project manager job interview. So do share your ideas, put into the comment. If you have any suggestion for upcoming episode, put that also in the comment area, and we will take it and schedule our future post podcast related to the PMP project manager interview mastery series.